Okay, this is August video chat with fans, and for those watching on YouTube, this might get interesting to do a time lapse because it's gonna get hot. I'm expecting to by the end of this look like, I'm some sort of shipwreck survivor just from the heat. So we'll see. Let's see for announcements. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Yeah, I should mention for anyone who joins in on this, you can see all the old ones in the YouTube description. I hide them afterwards so they don't clutter up the channel. I guess the first announcement I'm not happy about. I completely did not make my goal of trying to have 2 Freeman's Minds out last month. Armed and Delirious took up too much time, and I realized I can't even promise dates when it comes to videos where it's more than just me. If it's only me working on something, I can get close to promising something, but I realize I can't because I can have all the files good to go, but then if there's a problem with the sound editing or something else, or I need, technical help, then I have to work with the other people. I mean, I'm still going to keep working on videos. In the event that happens, I try to work on something else. But my goal is still to have at least 1 Freeman's Mind a month, but I am trying to queue up a whole lot of other stuff too. For this month, pretty much all I'm aiming for is, the 1 Freeman's Mind, but getting ready to work on a lot of other stuff that'll come out later, and particularly the movie. I'm going to spend a couple weeks this month on just the movie. So that'll lead into time a little bit, but also I'm finally getting help I need on the website. So maybe the website revision will launch this month, and I have some goodies coming with that. So I'll make an official video on that when that happens. Let's see. Oh yeah, I got so busy last month I had to cancel the game session. I'll try and get on top of that this month. It'll probably be another Unreal Tournament 2004 session, but I'm part of me kind of wants to try one of these DayZ clones, because this might be fun if you had a whole squad, had a whole clan of people going around with that sort of thing. I don't know, but I don't know many that are free. I think the only ones are Unturned, which I don't know, might be so-so. I've tried some of that before, and the Infestation one, which has a lot of negative comments. I've tried. I think that's more because the developer kind of overpromised pretty early on. But I played it before. I thought it was okay. The earlier version. They've renamed that game 5 times. It used to be the War Z. Then it was Infestation Survivor Stories. Now it's Infestation something else. But yeah, I still want to keep the accessibility pretty high, so I like to have free games if I can, or at least real low cost ones. Let's see. And so yeah, I think that's all I have for announcements. It's gonna be Freeman's Mind and the movie. Freeman's Mind, I was having a snag, but I think it got worked out. So I think Freeman's Mind will actually get a little bit easier as time goes on, because I had a lot of technical problems to deal with in the last episode. And then this one, I have a few more different ones, but as those get ironed out, the frequency of technical problems should be lowering. So let's see. Yeah, okay, so that's it. I'm gonna jump to the questions. These are submitted ahead of time on Reddit, and I'll just go by the ones that get the most votes here. And then afterwards, I'll take questions live from the chat. Okay, in Freeman's Mind 2, Episode 3, don't you think it's weird that Barney has held onto your crowbar for the last 20 years? Well, I always assumed he was just speaking figuratively, and that wasn't literally the crowbar from Black Mesa. Although, one person below that mentioned, how would he even know Freeman had a crowbar and was doing things with it too? So, that kind of goes back to which security guard was Barney. I think the canon is he's the very first one you see banging on the door. But then he's saying about that beer I owed you, which is the one from the front help desk. So, but Barney's everywhere and nowhere. But yeah, I just figured he was talking figuratively, not literally. You know, one thing I will say, these past few episodes, there's so many questions that have been brought up that I want to discuss, but then too many things keep happening that, Freeman can't just have a free open thinking session while all these cops are trying to shoot him. He has to react in the moment. So I imagine there'll be plenty of time as the game goes on to sort of cover more of the thoughts that he's having about the environment. But I got to run with what's happening. So, you're worried. Well, it's like I said, he got Kleinered. He had plenty of things to bring up, but didn't have time to go through it. Okay, again, I'm surprised this is so high on the votes here. You've had a donation system set up for a while now, and even includes the options to send bitcoins. Actually, I just recently added Ethereum too, because I have no idea which way cryptocurrency is going. My attitude on cryptocurrency is why not? Maybe it'll be worth monopoly money in a few years, or maybe it'll be, geez, I think it has gold earlier, so who knows? Is there a possibility of sending canned beans and or soul contracts as a form donation in the future? Well, I don't know if either of those would do anything for me, but hey, if you want additional donation stuff like that, less monetary stuff like that, check out the birthday video I made, Ross's big birthday video or whatever I titled it. That has suggestions of plenty of free things you can send, like MMO stories, like good soundtracks, stuff like that. So, but no, I don't think. I think you lose. You lose the economy aspect of beans if you're mailing them, and soul contracts. I don't know if I need. I feel like I have enough. I don't need to grab as many as possible. that's probably gonna grab a different kind of attention than the one I'm. Like the kind of attention I want is the one where people like the videos, not because they think like I'm like part of a satanic cult or something. But I'll go with what I get. Oh yeah, and somebody's saying, please set up a PO box. I may at some point in the future, but I also have limited space. So, I'm really not a pack rat. As many times as I've moved, that eliminates that kind of tendency. So I have to kind of weigh whether something being sent to me is really worth the space. Let's see. What was the most fun you've had while making one of your videos? Jeez, I'd have to think about it. Well, when I made the pirate episode, I mean, I think there was some time pressure on that, but for a while, I want to say a week or two, you could have just stopped me at random and I could have talked like a pirate. Just that's how much I kind of got versed into it doing the episode. So, I could just improv. I could have talked like a pirate improv just right around the time I was making that episode because I was so versed in it. So that was kind of a fun little bonus with that. Let's see, the most. I will say on the civil protection stuff, sometimes, when I would test out like the ragdoll stunts, like Mike getting hit by the Strider or getting blown back by the Hound Eye, those would be a lot of fun to watch. Like I might take like 10 takes because the physics don't exactly go the right way. Don't exactly go exactly the same way every time with the Source SDK. So, some might look a lot better than others. Some they might flay a little bit and do a little bit more of a cartwheel. So it would be a lot of fun watching those to figure out like which one's the best shot. It might, like with the tunnel, seeing parts of that come together, especially with the music. That was really satisfying in making it. Let's see. I'm trying to. Well, with the other earlier civil protection stuff, I remember originally I thought I might record Craig like in real time, like, I'd run lines with him and just record his take. But that ended up not working because when I would do my part, Craig would sometimes laugh so hard that he couldn't even do his line. So it ended up becoming a better idea to just give him the lines plain, just kind of clinical, and I'd listened for what I was looking for from his character, and then maybe ask him to redo something. But let's. Bitbop 2 was kind of fun with Game Dungeon just because I honestly did not know if I was going to be able to get that game working or running, or I figured if I couldn't get the game running, I would have just kind of left this as sort of like an open mystery. But I did, so that was a lot of fun being able to. I remember when I got the disc, even without Game Dungeon, I remember thinking like, wow, I am playing a game like just nobody has seen, just about. So that was kind of a high for me in Game Dungeon. Yeah, I can't think of any one moment that stands out above all others, but that's because I haven't made the movie yet. So I'm pretty sure completing the movie will be like kind of like the most fun. Well, in making the video. No, making the video is going to be a million steps, but okay, I'll keep going with the questions. Hey Ross, which video game do you consider to be the most important one to you personally? Also, what was the first game that you played that convinced you this was a hobby worth investing time in? And he's saying for him the first was Commander Keen, then he like Doom and Half-Life are the most important ones to me. Well, to answer the second one, I don't remember exactly because, I played my first games as a kid, and as a kid, the barrier to entry for getting interested in something isn't so high. Like, if you show a kid a water slide, which water slide was it that made you think this might be fun? They're just gonna be like, oh wow, it looks fun, and go after it. So, I don't have a distinct like single memory. I mean, I remember seeing a friend play Super Mario Brothers on his Nintendo at his house. I remember thinking that was like amazing, even though I was completely terrible at it when I first tried. Like I was really struggling to get past the first Goomba when I first played it. I also remember when seeing Mortal Kombat in the theater and in the arcades just kind of blew my mind. Like because that game they recorded the actors in front of the green screen and put it in front. As a kid seeing that was just like I hadn't seen anything like that before. So I remember those kind of stood out to me. As for the most important one to me personally, geez, it's hard to say because, I play a range, because there'll be some like for a first person shooter, this one far and away stands out to me, or RPGs, but I might enjoy like a driving one or an adventure one just as much, just in a different way. So I know it's a cop-out answer, but I don't know if I really have one because I played too many and they're just great in different ways. So yeah, sorry, I don't have an easy answer for that. Okay. The Armed and Delirious episode made me wonder a bunch of things. Is there a release of the soundtrack in some form? Yeah, there is now. Somebody managed... I'm curious how they did it. Somebody managed to extract the sound files. So it's in a real rough version, but check the forum thread on it at accursedforums.com, under Ross's Game Dungeon. I forget the guy's name, but he extracted all the sound files, threw it up on Dropbox. Now, it's mixed in there with a lot of sound effects and other things, but the music's there. And the music is usually like going to be the largest sound files. I think it's... But the That's the sort of thing, if somebody was really interested in it, it could probably use a remastering treatment because, you can't really add data to what's not there because the original was recorded in 22 kilohertz, like wave files. But I've noticed a whole bunch of 22 kilohertz files, you sort of hear this little hiss inherent to that. So it seems like if you really wanted to remaster it as much as you can without having access to the original files, you would want to like convert that to something like 44 kilohertz and then maybe run a real light sort of hiss filter on it. But that can distort the audio, but if you were like had sort of a soft touch, it might sound definitely better. But yeah, it's there if you want to monkey with it yourself. I don't have quite the incentive to go through the soundtrack and really kind of remaster it to my ability. I mean, there's some soundtracks that would do that for and plan to, but Armed and Delirious, it's very diverse. It does have talent, but it's not quite my thing. But hey, the Shake Me song's pretty catchy. So and the blues one, I like that. The jabba 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 jabba. And I'm like, well, it's the whole thing is just like nonsense mumbling, but it's kind of neat. So yeah, go hunt for that yourself. I think they put it up on Dropbox. How long did the sound card bug set you back? Was it a matter of hours, days, or weeks? About a day, I guess. But a day with spending a lot. Well, okay, not like 24 hours. It took a couple hours because what happened was, okay, I'll just I uninstalled the device, the driver tried to reinstall it, the problem returned. And then I was thinking, well, good God, I don't want to have to reinstall Windows 95 again. That took me long enough as it was. And then, actually, that reminds me, I still need to figure out how to get the save files off my Windows 95 image to back those up. I should try to figure out how to do that. Because, with Windows XP, you can just throw it on a USB drive or something, but Windows 95, I don't think that version even supported it properly. And I don't think the networking is going to work so well. So I still need to figure that out. Because I usually try to back up my saved games when I can. Does Armed and Delirious have the worst gameplay of any game you've seen or reviewed for Game Dungeon? It's got to be... See, this is where I need to pull up a list of like everything I've done so far, which is outdated on the website. But once that gets going, it'll be a lot easier. I mean, I know The Chosen is up there, but The Chosen is kind of bad in the different way because the gameplay is better overall, but at the same time, Armed and Delirious has that element of fascination to it because you have no idea what's coming next in that game. Whereas The Chosen, it's just like you're getting worn down. Arcade America wasn't that great either, but Arcade America almost seems normal compared to Armed and Delirious. So I was really getting worn down by the end of Arcade America. I mean, Revenant had some highs along with the lows, so I don't think it's on the same level. Yeah, I don't know. It might be the worst so far. But it's a bad and different... Yeah. In terms of raw gameplay, that one might be the worst, I guess. But I was cheating the whole time with the walkthrough, so... What's your favorite line from Armed and Delirious? Yeah, this guy asked too many questions, but okay. What's your favorite line from Armed and Delirious? Jeez, I don't know. I don't know. It's just sort of merges into this realm of madness that... I mean, I don't know. I sort of like the line where she's talking about talking with Einstein in the backyard. At sunset or something, like, okay, How do you feel about the movie becoming a sort of meme amongst your fans? I'm fine with that. The important thing is that it gets made. That's all that matters with it. Well, that and it's good, of course. That goes without saying. But you know, if because I am a little obsessive about that, so it's only a little bit of an exaggeration. What is the movie situation like in Poland for American films? Is there a time gap for theatrical releases, or do you just have to wait until they come to DVD? I think there is a little bit of a time gap, but I never really followed it. I mean, again, an old movie is just as good as a new movie to me if I haven't seen it and it's promising. So I'm totally fine with watching something that's been out for a while. For new stuff, though, it's not that big a deal. Like, I mean, again, my girlfriend drags me to pretty much every Marvel movie in the theater, or almost all of them. But yeah, we have to go see the subtitle ones, not the dub ones. So yes, you are going to have Polish subtitles if you watch a movie in the theater here, but it's not that big a deal. But yeah, I can't go see a dub one. But other than that, I'd say it's pretty similar. How long do you intend to continue these video chats in their current form? You seem to must be getting pretty similar questions consistently at this point. I guess until people really don't want it. I mean, again, this serves kind of two purposes. This is sort of one, I can fall painfully behind on emails. That's gotten, unfortunately, it's only gotten more true over time. So I see this as a stopgap thing. So if a whole bunch of people think they're being neglected by something that like I should get on top of, well, here's your chance. Ask, pile on, I will answer it for you. So, again, it's sort of a Band-Aid for falling too far behind on some things. And the other is just, let people know I'm here and I'm still working on stuff. So I'm not just disappeared and you don't know what happened to me. So. Oh yeah, I meant to mention for the next game, I don't have a date yet, but that'll be in the description. So when this goes up on YouTube, I'll hopefully have something figured out by then. Okay, yes, I got diverted, but yeah, I mean, I'm fine with doing this. I mean, geez, I'm lucky people are even watching these things. So. And I totally don't blame anyone who's not. If you only watch like the videos I put a lot of effort into on the channel, great. That's the stuff I'm hoping people will watch. Everything else, and the movie. I want everyone to watch the movie, but I never take offense if somebody doesn't want to watch some of this stuff. Oh, this is a good question. Has there ever been an old game you wanted to make a Game Dungeon video on, but no matter what, you couldn't get it to run? Except for online only games that have a central server, like, Battleforge, Darkspore, no, nothing. I've been able to run everything. Now, I might have to bust out a virtual machine to do it, or go through all these compatibility tricks, or some emulation of things. I mean, geez, there was one a while back. This is before DOSBox supported it. I remember I had to use a floppy drive emulator to get it working due to how the save games worked. But no, I've always gotten it to work. This is why I get a little paranoid as time goes on with compatibility, because I'm worried that, there'll be something in the future, like a new version of Windows or something, and something will just not work. So. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have a whole bunch of hoops to go through. Like, Armed and Delirious is probably the most. But, I haven't run any. So, I mean, it's a different technique for different games. But that's also why I wish virtual machines would have things like anti-aliasing, because that's something you lose from having to run on modern hardware in emulation, where it actually did literally look better back when it came out. So, But yeah, but at some point, probably a few years from now, I'm probably gonna have to cave in and go into. I'm probably have to go to Windows 10. In which case, I don't know. Yeah, I guess technically I can't run DirectX 12 games right now because that's inherent to that. But uh, at some point, like on a secondary system, I'd like to do like a big sort of shootout with game compatibility between 7 and 10. See what will run, see what won't. And I wouldn't pick mainstream games. I would pick all these kind of a little bit lesser known games because, are we really worried about Diablo 2 not running in the future? Or, what's another popular one? StarCraft or Doom. The really mainstream ones, there's always going to be a way to run those. But it's those ones like The Chosen, but say something better than that, Or say Revenant if it hadn't gotten the GOG release or something like that. Stuff that, or there might be games that are like decent enough, but, not huge games that everyone's heard of and they're going to be preserved. So it's something I get concerned about, but so far I'm in a good spot with that. What is the most bizarre or unexplained situation you've ever been into? Jeez. I don't know. I guess they're usually just like real little things. It's like I mentioned in the Helios episode. I have never had a close encounter of the third kind or just anything even remotely to that. Nothing that couldn't be explained like a plane or what's a really bizarre. I remember. This isn't that bizarre, but I thought it stood out to me. I remember at high school, like in between classes, like there was like a older French teacher who just stopped me like in the hall. Like, she grabbed me on my shoulder and she's like, now, Paul, I need you to come after class. Like, you're in some trouble or something like that. So I just said, okay. And then just left because I'm not Paul or whatever the guy's name was. And I guess I looked like him. Let's see. Jeez, what are some other bizarre situations? You probably run into those more if you're like in the right areas. Like if you're downtown in like a major city, I bet you see more bizarre things. But I don't know. I'm running dry right now. Maybe that's why my imagination is pretty active because I haven't seen enough bizarre things. Okay, let's see. The informational portion of Deus Ex, the Deus Ex episode reminds me of George Carlin, who also mentioned most of these things in his shows. So I wonder whether you're a fan and whether your favorite stand-up comedians and comedians in general. Yeah, I've seen some of George Carlin. It's pretty good. I haven't watched a lot of stand-up comedy though. I tend to watch like movies and shows a lot more than like just sort of raw stand-up comedy. I've seen a little like, and sometimes I'll watch YouTube segments. Like I've seen some of Bill Burr. He had some funny stuff. Comedians in general. Well, for written one, see a lot of my stuff. Let's see. I want to see it split between stuff I've remembered from several years back and stuff that I have no idea who made this. And I just found it hilarious. Look, okay, like from Machinima, Detective Nigbone. It's not for people who are easily offended, but good God, I was laughing hard on that series, especially the earlier ones. For comedians, yeah. Okay, for outdated stuff, I like some of the old Marx Brothers stuff. I love the Blues Brothers. That's Dan Aykroyd. Because that's the thing. Sometimes with like actors or comedians, they're not always consistently reliable, but for some things, they'll be fantastic. Let's see. What are some the most offensive videos.com? They have some really funny stuff. Well, I like James Rolfe, angry video game nerd, but let's see, where's some more like mainstream comedians. Bill Murray is something where even if the movie isn't good, his performance tends to always be great. I'm trying to think of like stand-up comedians. I guess I'm running dry, but I can be honestly, I can be hard to please with comedy. Yeah, see, somebody's saying Blazing Saddles. See, yeah, I think I might mention this in another chat. Like Mel Brooks, he throws in everything. Some stuff is absolutely hilarious, like everything he does. Some stuff is absolutely hilarious. Some stuff is just dumb. But I mean, even now some lines stick with me. Like I love in Robin Hood Men in Tights. I think my favorite line was they had the king there and he's saying, "Okay, so by the end of the day, we're either gonna have a wedding or a hanging. Either way, we're gonna have a lot of fun, huh?" And then like everybody cheers. I love that. Yeah, I don't know. It's just all over the place. You know, good. I appreciate kind of good comedy in general. So, but yeah, I was gonna say for written ones like Dave Barry. I've read a lot of his earlier stuff. The Long Dark came out of early access today. You talked about the game before, I think. Any new thoughts on it? No, I've been avoiding it because it was early access. So I'll definitely have to try it out. Though this is not. Look, this is not the right time for me because some games, that is a good game to play during winter. That is a good winter game. Some games, it's sort of neutral, or if the temperature is not that drastic either way, I can play it. But if it's real hot like this, I don't want to play winter games. I want to play like something that's in the tropics, or maybe now is the time for desert games. In fact, probably the next game I'm going to play is Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones. That's one I've always been meaning to play through because I played the two that came before that. But that's a good hot weather game. It looks dry, kind of arid. So yeah, no, that's great that it came out early access because you have to figure if that game says it's fit for release, it's probably fit for release. So. Do you think the game dungeon is going to get weirder as time goes on, or do you plan on doing any old obscure games? I think it's going to stay about the same, but whatever I can do to kind of make it more watchable, and have it come out in a sane amount of time, I'd like to do. Because to me, that's the end goal. Not to be the most informative, not to be like the slickest one, but just to have something watchable, you know, so you watch it, you don't feel bad that you saw that after the fact. You're thinking, oh, that was fun, you know, something like that. That's my goal with it. So the entertainment value. Look, it's been weighing on me, especially because of how long Armed and Delirious took. I really want to try to have, maybe not game dungeon specifically, but sort of another experimental version where not as much time goes into the editing, but I kind of keep the writing on a similar level, and I talk about a much wider spectrum of games. And then those could be mainstream ones. But I figure I got to pick the right games to start off with, so I really have something worth saying. You know, because some I'm not gonna, just not that many thoughts come to me, so I got to think harder as a way to better present this, because you don't, I mean, there's a certain amount that's unavoidable, but you don't want to watch me say the exact same things that somebody else has said, but maybe better, you know, like they were more thorough and informative. You know, like again, for like Deus Ex Human Revolution, I don't think too many people were talking about the oil crisis of, what year did they have? It was like 2015 or something like that. Or now I forgot the year, but and then elaborating how like, hey, this is a wider issue. See, I want more stuff like that. It doesn't have to be serious necessarily, but you know, just something that you're not going to get from other reviewers or people who cover games. Okay. Will your civil protection series be referenced at all on Freeman's mind too? I had a plan for where that would happen, but now I realize that it's not such a good spot for it. So I got to think about it. Maybe. Because the problem is almost every cop is killable in Half-Life 2. So while I have no problem with killing off Mike and Dave in multiple episodes, it seems like I don't know. I kind of want to maintain the disconnect where, oh yeah, those are the cops talking to him. So then people are gonna want to go back to the game, and then they go to those cops, and it's just the generic chatter. I kind of want them inaccessible in a way. So I don't know. I have to think about it. But if you suddenly have political control of a small population of people with little initial resources beyond survival and isolated from the world, what would you do? Where would the society live on a scale from anarchy to communism? Would you use religion? Well, okay, I guess this really depends on like what the size of the population is. But okay, but here's the thing. It says little initial resources beyond survival. Okay, so I think that's the priority. If I have political control of it, I guess it'd be almost like sort of like a tribal level, where like I guess I'm the chieftain, kind of saying this is how we have to do things if we want to live. Yeah, I guess the other thing is depends if do they want me as their leader, and like how. Or does like what percentage of people want me as their leader? Because if they think they can handle it better than me, then yeah, sure, they can take over. But if they're saying, yeah, we want you as the leader, I guess my focus would be on survival first, because it says little initial resources beyond survival. So that's the number one thing to focus on. And how you get there is almost kind of unimportant to me. I mean, because yeah, you can have one system that gives more freedom or restriction over the other, but if people end up dead, then to me that's almost irrelevant. I kind of want to, like in the series, in the new one, the remake they did of Battlestar Galactica. I remember at one point they're making this big deal about how it was so important to maintain democracy and not have like military rule. And this is, for people who haven't seen that, this is a situation where they're running through space, through these starships. That's all they have. And this colony of sort of robot cyborg things are after them, trying to exterminate them. So this is a pure survival situation. And it's mostly under military control, but their commander is an excellent person. Like you couldn't ask for better than this guy. So it's like, why the hell is democracy so important if you have good leadership and this is a survival situation? Like, okay, let's vote as to whether we should run from the robots or not. That's a great idea. So I don't know. Like, again, if it's a survival situation, you make the priorities, have enough food, like for this period. And like, let's say we lose some or have a bad harvest or something. Let's be prepared for that. Or, let's have a plan for what to do when people get sick. Just try to prepare for as many scenarios as you can and figure out how people are going to get enough to eat and have enough resources to survive. So how you get there isn't so important so much as you get there. And if your system leaves people by the side, then that's bad. And the more it leaves, then the worse a system it is. That is so. I'd say there's too many variables for me to like rank that. Okay. So my initial priority is survival, and with that goes you said cut off from the world. So that also means sustainability and a balance with your environment. Because say you want to cut down all the trees to have like much nicer housing or something. Well, then come the winter, you might you might not have enough firewood, so some people are going to die of hypothermia. Well, that's no good. So you got to be thinking way ahead, and you don't want to be like overfishing or like depleting the soil in the right ways. Uh, so yeah, or maybe not this winter, but like the winter 4 or 5 years from now, at the rate we're going, we're going to be screwed. So as the leader, you got to be thinking that far ahead, or at least that. So yeah, so survival, sustainability is the number one priority. Then after that, second would be like, I guess quality of life for everyone. That makes have more than a hole in the ground, have enough, maybe have a little bit more to eat if something like that. So okay, so yeah, I should get off of that. So yeah, the important thing isn't the system; it's the goal. The values of your society. That's the important thing, I think, is more important than the system. Because if your values of their people are in contrast to whatever the system is, then the system's going to fail. I mean, the people may fail too, but, so those would be my priorities in any sort of like government or organization or anything if I was in charge. Okay, yeah, and then that spawned a lot of comments under the political aspect of it. Okay. What do you wish more people knew about so you can make references to it in your videos? Like a specific movie, game, album, etc. I don't know. I mean, usually my attitude on this is if it's something, I don't know, I sort of trust the intelligence and the background of the viewers, because if it's something where it's a specific reference to something, I assume some people are going to get it, and the ones that won't might be able to look it up or ask other people. And but I'm not going to like overload people with that. So say you like 90% of the video, but then you have no idea what I was talking about for like 10%. That's okay, well, like with Freeman when he's talking about the people getting capped. Some people are going to know what that is. A lot of people aren't. That's fine, In fact, I think some of this, or just general working knowledge, like some things I may have to, I'll give like a quick explanation to sort of give people a frame of reference. Like in Armed and Delirious, I was talking about like, how, like when, this is like basic physics where like, air, you have to use more and more energy to accelerate when you're speeding up, because the air represents more and more resistance quadratically. 4 directions or 4 times. Some people, especially younger viewers, might not know that, but I'm just giving you a reference. And if I'm using a word you may not know, well, hey, you can look that up. I think that, now that I think about it, I think this might be the key. Not necessarily, but it could be a part of why some videos or stories or games feel kind of dumbed down and just they're trying to appeal to everyone, because they'll avoid those sort of little references that might make more sense, but the producers are too scared to have that because not everyone's going to get that. To me, that's okay. As long as it's a minority, as long as that's a minority of your content that people just aren't going to understand, or like not all the viewers are going to get, I think that's fine, because it might encourage people to kind of look up more stuff. I mean, Mystery Science Theater 3000 has some pop culture references. I have no idea what they're talking about, but they also have plenty of other jokes that, I do get that are hilarious. So I think I can't think of any one thing that's kind of like essential for people to know. So I guess for Game Dungeon, just general knowledge of games, but even then, that doesn't matter. Okay, is Daniel Sangio, or geez, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, cooperate with you when he's creating subtitles? He mostly, I've told him there's never any obligation on that. I think the only episode I was like, I really hope you can make the subtitles for this, was the episode 27 of Freeman's Mind, because of all the pirate lingo. It's like, man, people are going to need these subtitles. everything he kind of does that on his own and enjoys it. I've always told him there's no pressure, but when he'll sometimes email me asking what word was I saying or what was the phrase. In a few cases, he was asking for like my script notes, which which tend to be very sloppy. He can probably attest to that in the chat. But sometimes, like for Freeman's Mind, I don't always have them because I just kind of go through it one step at a time, then forget about because Freeman's Mind, it's not all pre-scripted. In fact, very little of it is. But Game Dungeon, a lot of that, almost all that's written out. So, yeah, I clarify anything for him and give him notes if that helps. But other than that, let's see. Yeah, okay. Should keep moving with the questions. Ross, your video on Armed and Delirious made me question my comprehension on reality itself. Is that normal? That game does kind of give that game does give kind of a bad aftertaste. I have to say, it really does. In fact, whatever the next Game Dungeon is, it's going to be something you walk away with feeling a little better. I just felt like I had to cover that one. Let's see. Have you, any other game you've played, heard of that comes close to the insanity that Armed and Delirious is? Yeah, maybe, but the ones that get too nuts, I tend to back away from. Armed and Delirious also had that kind of big world of exploration aspect to it. I hung in there for. To that level of insanity. Let's see what. Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty. I guess the difference is that game kind of stands out to me too because, like, they put that in stores, like to be sold box copy. Whereas a lot of games are trying to make weird games. They're like intentionally trying to weird you out as much as possible. This that only felt like one element of it. He felt like the creator. No, this is their vision, which. It felt more authentically weird, as opposed to just being weird for its own sake. But did you ever cosplay as Gordon Freeman? Do you have any pictures? Well, no, I didn't go to a convention or anything, but I did take photos of myself. I want to say it was back in 2007, where I tried to position myself on the same way as Gordon Freeman. That's on the website somewhere. I think the entry is Freeman's Mind Portrait. Let's see. Well, whatever. That's probably been copied. I took a couple. Just look up Ross Scott Freeman's Mind on Google and do an image search. I'm sure it'll. I took one or two. I think I had an extra that I may have lost a copy of, but. Where would you put Half-Life on your favorite games of all time list? I feel like Half-Life's almost been disqualified because I've played it too much, and just done too much with the videos and everything. It's like I don't even think about it the same way. So I'm relying on my thoughts about the game prior to making Freeman's Mind and Civil Protection. And with that, it would be, again, I'm not good with numbering stuff or ranking it. I mean, it's more like tiers of goodness. So, I would put it so yeah, okay. So at the very top tier, you mentioned Deus Ex, stuff that just, I absolutely loved it. And it just lingers in my head a long time. Just kind of makes me think about that atmosphere of the game or something about it I like so much. So let's say I would put Half-Life just under the very top tier. So Half-Life 1's really good, really good game. And again, this is relying on my memory. It's nowadays it's disqualified. I can't even look at it the same way. So Like, yeah, so just at the top tier, there's games like I just had a wonderful experience. I just have incredibly fond memories of it. Like either the atmosphere or just the way that surprised me. I'd say Half-Life was like just below that, like, and really good for me personally. Okay, let's see. Okay, he's saying that with Freeman's Mind 2, he's saying the setup of Half-Life 2 has the potential for a more interesting game because, you know, you're there with no food, no money, no place to stay, and no working knowledge of the local language. What happened to your time in the parch? What happened in between? Again, some of these topics I hope to address as time goes on with the series, but it it's gonna have to wait until people stop shooting at him for so much. Uh, he's saying I think it would make a better refugee or homelessness simulator. You have to scavenge for food out of garbage cans, find a map of the city, find out what's going on, pick up some Russian. What do you think? Well, I think people have. Okay, I'll ask the chat. What country is Half-Life 2 supposed to be? Like Hungary? Or no, Bulgaria? I don't know. Because Freeman's just guessing. He knows this is like either Eastern Europe or Russia from the architecture and the Cyrillic writing, but I think people have looked at it more thoroughly from okay, yeah, people are saying Hungary or Bulgaria. Uzbekistan. Yeah, that could be interesting. In fact, I think I mean it's more surreal, and I don't know if again, I've been trying to avoid it since I saw it because I don't like getting too many details about a game I definitely want to try at some point. I just want to get just enough and like, okay, then I like to black out. But We Happy Few, I think, is sort of like that. You're dropped into this weird society that's dystopian, and you have to figure out how everything works in order to survive. At least that's the pitch of it. So, yeah, I think it's a great concept. Especially, I almost feel like it'd be better for like a more alien culture like that. I mean, it doesn't. I don't mean like extraterrestrial aliens, but just like, you know, the more mundane definition of alien. Just very bizarre. If it's a little too close to home, if it's a little too realistic, that might be rough. I mean, it could still be a good game, but that might be a little rough for me to play through because it would just like, I think my stomach would clench up and just like, oh my god, like this person's gonna starve, and or they're, well, I don't know. It's different if it's only you. I think the ones that really get to me, like, are ones where you're taking care of other characters and you're dealing with that sort of scavenging thing, and they try to like make it kind of believable. Those, I don't enjoy those. It's not that they're bad games. It's just that's, like, I empathize too much with that sort of thing. So I need a little more detachment. If it's just my character, that's fine. That's what like a lot of like those survival games are like, you know, with DayZ or whatever, however many clones there are of DayZ now, or Minecraft, you know. But like that's one, like I'm probably not gonna play the game This War of Mine. But my impression was it might get like too depressing and just nihilistic, and again, certain things get to me more than others. Where if it's more like science fiction, post-apocalyptic or something, where it's farther detached from reality, then that's easier for me to work with. So. Okay. Have you run into any issues with games requiring Adobe Shockwave? Yeah, like with The Last Stand, it's like it fixed itself. Let's see. Oh, and he has something. Okay, well, but yeah, there's an offline player for that, I believe. But even then, it's like the speed. You know, when I eventually cover that for Union City, I think I'm going to have to drop the resolution below 1080. It cannot handle that. I mean, at full speed. I'd like to hit 30 frames a second if I can. Maybe I can find a compromise in there, but man, it's just, it chugs. So, you know, I think Adobe finally announced they're going to be killing Flash in 2020. I think there's going to, I imagine there's going to be some sort of software that comes out for that so you can still run all this stuff. The stuff that's at risk is, again, the stuff that relies on a central server. So if it's a game you cannot play, like with the offline cached version, then yeah, that might go down because the company might not support it. So, okay, what was this other question? Oh, okay, no, he's asking too many. I don't want to spoil too many things about what I have planned for Freeman's Mind, so I'm gonna reserve the right to skip some of this stuff. Do you watch much YouTube? Who are your favorite channels? Any recommendations? You know, I kind of want to watch a lot more of YouTube, but I want to find like the right stuff that I'm looking for. I'll sometimes watch things on different topics. You know, in fact, that was, okay, I'll say this because not as many people are going to watch this video. On the birthday video, I almost thought about asking if you have seen like some really quality kind of comedy or science fiction stuff on YouTube. You know, maybe you could send me some underappreciated recommendations. So not the stuff that has 5 million views, but like the stuff that got 50,000 views or less. But this is like good writing or good acting, you know, stuff like that. I kind of prefer things with sort of a storyline to them. Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be like branching, but things where, you know, there's a plot and characters and things like that. For presentation, for stuff that's on general topics, I either have to care about the topic a whole lot or like the style of the presenter. Like, so again, I mentioned him, like Tom White from We Were Video Games. I like his style. So he could cover a lot of different things. I think I'd enjoy it. Or again, Angry Video Game Nerd. Although he kind of varies. Some of his stuff I think is a little too dry. I like him more when he's more expressive. But see, he's really well known. Let's see, what are some others? I think True Enough production. It's like, yeah, it's called True Enough. Look up Glacier Race. That's a great little short video. But they have a lot of other funnier stuff on there. It's kind of hit or miss. They disappeared, but I think. But Magic Hugs was another. Look, yeah, Magic Hugs. That's an example. Some of those get a little too weird for me, but some of those just going back to good comedy. I love those. I like that kind of surreal comedy a lot. What are some other good ones? Yeah, I'm behind on this. So you're welcome to send me recommendations on this sort of thing. However, I will say, if it's a channel that has like a whole bunch of stuff and you like everything, send me what you think is like the best video for a new person. Like, because I don't always have time to go through all this stuff. So I kind of need to judge their whole channel on one of their videos. Or like if you were to do that on mine, I would probably steer you to Stranger in Need or Civil Protection Morning Patrol, even though a lot of what I do isn't like that. But if you were looking for game reviews, then, you know, there's several game dungeons you could pick that I think it'd be fair to judge my whole channel. And with Freeman's Mind, they're all pretty similar, so that's okay. So I do different kinds of videos, but that's the sort of thing. So yeah, that would be my suggestion if you want to recommend stuff to me. Give me an example of a video that you think like I should judge their other stuff by, like to try to rope me in. You know, give me tell me which video should be the sales pitch. So if I don't like that, I might give up on the others. But which I know is the last thing. But again, I suggested videos you could do that to myself on. I'm not trying to be hypocritical here. So I think Freeman's Mind, my machinimas like Civil Protection and Game Dungeon, they're sort of different paths. You know, they're different styles. So, like for Angry Video Game Nerd, I'd probably say Silver Surfer would be one that I would recommend. And for Tom has a lot of good. It was like this tomato punching game. It was like Yamagata or something. Although I like Bazooka Bill too from Tom. And yeah, for Magic Hugs, Workout Guy is a really solid one to start off with. Yeah, true enough, I mentioned Glacier Race. Yeah, I feel like that's a good standard for any YouTube. Yeah, it's to have one video. It may not be their best stuff, but maybe the other stuff you need to watch the earlier things to really appreciate it. But there's got to be something you can recommend to new people. I think that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, yes. Okay, so Captain Tomaday. That was the name of the one from Tom. That's probably one I would recommend starting off with. Okay. Have you ever eaten Flotsky? If yes, what do you think of it? No, I guess I haven't. I've eaten Plotsky. So. Oh, skip one. How is the Revenant map coming along? Does the offer for a giant printed poster still stand? I hope it does. It hasn't been because I've just been too busy, but I'm going to have to get to it. I mean, Russ, I've noticed back in the first Freeman's Mind that your weapons did more damage than the standard. Do you plan on using the system of Freeman's Mind too? Because the looks of it, your weapons are using standard Half-Life 2 damage. No, it's already been reduced. I have mixed feelings about that because the Civil Protection guys kind of look like they're more armored, but again, if you shoot them, you see blood come back. You see blood spatter and blood decal behind them. So if it's doing that, then yeah, I guess it's going through the armor. So yeah, I dropped them pretty fast in that. I kind of wanted, it's not that I'm against bullets. I mean, I don't like bullet sponges, but I'm not against the concept. But I want to feel like this is halfway believable. You know who might take as many shots in Half-Life, maybe even more, I have to see, is the Overwatch. I mean, those guys look armored like bomb demolition crews. So I could actually see them taking a few rounds. Or maybe, hey, maybe the gun, what kind of gun you're using makes a difference. So maybe if I'm trying a pistol, they're shrugging those off. So I might try and do more of that sort of thing. Because, yeah, Overwatch looks like they could handle some fire. But we'll see. That's another thing where I got to play with the values. What is your favorite gun from any game? And what is your favorite type of gun? Well, okay, I think if you just asked me on the spot, I'd say in Painkiller Battle Out of Hell expansion, they have what's essentially this quad crossbow thing that impales people to the wall. So it has like a little bit of a spread. And the alternate fire sends out like these rows of bouncing metallic balls that just blow up everything. That just, boy, you can clear almost anything with that gun. And just in terms of raw satisfaction, boy, the shotgun from Fear, it has some bite to it. There was actually a mod a while back, Desert Crisis for Half-Life, where what was it? Oh yeah, there was the Spas 12, and from what I understand, it was a bit bugged, but basically you shot somebody with that. If you lined it up right, it would just blow their heads off. I mean, it was so hilarious because so many people would complain about that in the mod, but I was like, I would type, yeah, when you shoot somebody in the head with a Spas 12, you're supposed to live. Like, so even though it was a bug, it actually more accurately represented the damage. Now for just favorite type of gun in a game, you know, I think I've seen sort of a meme before where they show like real shotgun damage versus video game shotgun damage as the as the distance gets farther, it turns into like, squirt gun level of damage for a shotgun. Uh, if you just told me, okay, you have to pick, and you're going in blind, you have to pick one weapon. You don't know what the game is. I would just say some sort of assault rifle on semi-automatic, because what situation is that? Any situation that's not going to cut it for you either need to run or that you need heavy explosives. Because that just covers you for everything. Close quarters, fine. Long distance, fine. Lots of enemies to deal with, fine. I think that's what I would go with. If you're just sending me into any game blind, I would go with an assault rifle on semi-automatic. So, let's see. What was your highlight of the week? Well, Path of Exile released their expansion yesterday. I've been looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to playing that. I only played a little bit of it. They had a pretty rocky launch, but yeah, I think for the week that might have been it. Let's see. Do you have any new recording problems with Half-Life 2? Does Freeman's Mind 2 weigh at 1 gigabyte per second? Let's see. Okay, well, the first answer, yeah, I did. I'm trying to get it better than it already is. Let's see. However, I ran into issues. Like I was trying to get it smoother, like by increasing the tick rate. But when I did that, some things could stutter, but also like the trains would run too slowly. And there were other things. See, now I'm already forgetting, even though this is for episode 2 mainly. There was... Well, this has been for like every Source game. Like when I sort of resume in the game, I kind of have to start from the beginning of the level, because if I don't, decals and ragdolls will just disappear in the demo. Like you'll see them playing, but like if I were to just load a game, I can't do that. Because like right now in the current episode, I'm gonna have to replay back to that point. I'll probably just rush through it and get there, but I can't just load the save game where I am, because recording the demo, it won't have that information. It won't keep the ragdolls or the decals. And sometimes it's not even the ones I added. They can just be in-game ones. Let's see. Actually, for highlights of the week, I've been catching up on a lot of emails. So that was probably my second highlight. But it's still a long way to go. So yeah, I'm trying to get it smoother, because like if you look around like real time, it's gonna be smoother than playing back the demo, and there's all sorts of reasons for that. Yeah, that was it. The interpolation values, because like that part where you in episode 2 where you get up from and look at Alex on the that would look real choppy. However, if I change the values so that like if I jump, that would be choppy, or sometimes the way NPCs walk, or some animations, like flipping the switch for the teleporter. Those would all be choppy for different interpolation values. So I actually had to re-record different segments on different values to kind of smooth it all out. And I know some people, I'll answer this because I know some people are asking, why don't you just record real time? It affords me a lot. It affords me a lot of things, because then the frame rate can dip, and that's still okay. Recording at like max settings, I can replace some sounds, or if I need to go back and change something a little bit, I can redo that. There's just a lot of reasons to do it as a demo instead of real time. And this Freeman's Mind 2 weighed at gigabyte per second. That's the very raw video. Yes, about that. It's about, I think it was. Oh, wait, is it? Yeah, it's about that. It's about 64 gigabytes a minute. However, it doesn't stay that way long. The first thing I do is convert it to losslessly compressed video. Actually, I think somebody has made a tool that might have fixed this. I tried it earlier. It didn't quite work, but I haven't checked the update, so I might need to look into that. And then, so that reduces the size, and then I apply the motion blur, which reduces it from 180 frames per second to 30. So that reduces the size further. Usually what I do is I record the footage, I convert it to losslessly compressed, then I just throw it, then I just copy that off the external drives, that I just plug in, just in case I need to reprocess it again, or if I lose something, then get it off the SSD and just put the smaller size on there. So it's sort of a dance a bit, but I try to keep the quality high. Have you played some of the games from your top 25 most anticipated games list besides Uncanny Valley? And will some of them possibly be on Game Dungeon? Well, if I do that more, yeah, I played a lot of the 2D ones. And the ones that have, if it's still in early access, I pretty much haven't played it. I can say that. If it's left early access or got released, then several of the 2D ones I played, like I played Dex, Mother Russia Bleeds. Oh yeah, another Metroid 2 remake. That one was really good. The what? I don't remember everything on the list. The 3D ones I'm sort of holding off on until I upgrade most of them. Upgrade my video card. I'm not doing that until I get more done on the movies. So it's sort of like an intentional carrot I'm dangling in front of myself to make sure I don't fall too far behind in the movie. Will they be getting a Game Dungeon? Probably not the normal Game Dungeon. However, if I can figure out how to do this sort of more rapid fire style that's still enjoyable to watch, then yeah, nothing's off the table. Well, not much is off the table then. So, Ross, are you a fan of the show Rick and Morty? I haven't seen it yet. A lot of people have been saying I should watch it though, so I'm sure I'll watch it at some point. What is the difference between the colors on a circle puzzle in Armed and Delirious and that cookie puzzle in the beginning of Still Life? You hate the first one and love the second, but they both look to me like nonsensical guesswork. Well, the one in Still Life is a logical deduction puzzle. Now you do need to know a little. The way you deduce things is a little more abstract, because again, you kind of have to know some fundamentals of cooking, like cookies. Like flour is going to be your main ingredient for cookies, then sugar, and there's all sorts of little hints, they say they say add 2 generosity or something, whatever the word was they're using. Well, you don't add 2 flour, but you add 2 eggs, or you add a stick of butter, or something like that. So you gotta look at the language a little bit to eliminate some things. And then sometimes the quantities. Like if they're asking for a 1/4 teaspoon of something, well, that's gotta be like extract or salt or baking powder or something like that. You're not gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of flour to cookies. So, the quantities were other clues there. Look, I went through there, no hints. It probably took me 40 minutes or something. I enjoy puzzles like these. I got it down to one of 2 possibilities. Okay, so that's guesswork of 2 options versus 512. Okay, so and that's for me kind of taking out doing the puzzle on it. Yeah, and Still Life has other good puzzles too. There's a lock picking one where you have to figure out, okay, well this function causes the gears or the levers to behave in this way. Pushing this one, if this one has been pressed, causes it to behave in another way. That's deductive stuff. It's not just guesswork. It's you understanding the rules and then figuring it out how it works based off of that. So, whereas Still Life, it's just okay, test this, test this, test this. It's completely mindless. There's no thought put into it at all. So there really is logic going on in the Still Life one. Okay. You talk about alternate realities, and I was wondering if that's something you believe in or just something you say. It's more like it's a fun concept. My entire life, I haven't seen anything to lead me to believe there are alternate realities. And I think this is best left. So I don't personally believe them, but I'm not disproving them either. So I think this is best left to the realm of kind of science fiction writers or quantum physicists, people who can maybe make the argument on a physics level beyond my understanding that maybe this does exist. So, yeah, it's not something I worry about. Okay, there's a long question. Let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I'll read parts of this. I've noticed generally in American-driven gaming media, it seems like Nintendo is the be-all, end-all gaming platform, though 8 and 16-bit era, through the 8 and 16-bit era, and they color gaming history with this quite a lot. Given this, do you feel as a whole the 8 and 16-bit era has somewhat of a revisionist, somewhat inaccurate history of gaming formed from this? With this rather strong bias and favoritism of Nintendo, and that given this, the likes of the Commodore 64, Amiga, and even early PC titles tend not to get the attention they actually deserved. Yeah, he's saying he disputes the concept that they are God's gift to gamers. And there were a lot of great games from gaming history elsewhere that get largely ignored. Yeah, it's sort of a complicated question, but I have definitely seen some of that. Where it's always driven me crazy is from game journalists who just are completely unaware of the existence of all these other games. If the average person is, that's just what they were exposed to. That you can't knock them too hard for that. But when a journalist or a reviewer that's meant to be taken seriously gets fundamental facts wrong and doesn't own up to it later once they realize that sets such a bad precedent. I've definitely seen that sort of thing for people unaware of the things. Well, the one that always drives me crazy is adventure games are dead. Yeah, but that strays more from what you're talking about. Yeah, there's other things like the video game crash, which really did happen, but PCs and Commodore 64 stuff, they just sailed right through it, At this, yeah, I think the thing to look at is mechanic. Okay, well, I'm probably gonna garner some hate for this one, but a lot of people will discuss how original Halo was. Well, if you had played a lot of PC games, this is beyond the area you're talking about, you'd see many elements that were in other games. The thing Halo did was my understanding, the thing that Halo did that was more evolutionary was first-person shooter controls on a gamepad. My understanding is they really set new standards for that, and they were innovative. Almost every other element, you can find some parallels. With stuff like Tribes, Star Siege Tribes, and the melee mechanic for being close up, or other things, or vehicle use. Okay, well, I'm straying. Yeah, I think there is some of that. I sometimes like to point to Nintendo, especially for the 16-bit era, because I honestly think, on average, per game, they had the nicest looking stuff out there. Their use of color was so great on your just average Super Nintendo title. And they had a real sense of art design on many, many titles. It's not that you didn't on the PC side either. Again, like I mentioned, Legend of Kyrandia, that one's gorgeous. But your average PC game, it's going to be all over the place. And with Commodore 64, it was anything goes. Commodore 64, I almost look at like it's a friggin' Safari, because it's just it's all over the place. But yeah, there does seem to be some stuff that gets ignored. Okay, hey, I'm not going to name names, so I'll keep their anonymity safe. But when I was at Machinima, there was somebody working on an informative video where they were honestly saying, like, geez, I might have seen that Resident Evil was the first survival horror game. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, I think they might have been the first to use the term survival horror, but to say that, I mean, especially, I mean, there's a lot of stuff early on where it sort of blurs the line. Oh, like Waxworks and stuff, or even older stuff on the Atari, where it's like, is this survival horror or not? But Resident Evil, it's practically copied Alone in the Dark style in many ways. I mean, I think Resident Evil is the better game, but you can't ignore that, you know? And, or the one that gets to me is like BioShock, like thinking there was much of anything original in the BioShock gameplay. I mean, no, this is heavily copied. However, there's a lot of people, that's their first exposure to it, so they don't know any better. Again, if you like any game like that, well, hey, I was real late to the party on games that had regenerating health and first-person shooters. Like, I literally hadn't played one before Wolfenstein, but I was aware that they existed. Again, if you like a derivative game like that, great. But you lose, you can't come in and say this is original and mind-blowing and everything like that. So that's something I try to be careful about in Game Dungeon. I always try to give myself an out. Like to say, I haven't seen one like this. So that way, if I end up being completely wrong, I kind of gave myself a little bit of wiggle room there. Like, I don't say that, like, this is fact unless I'm damn sure of it. Or try not to. But yeah, I feel like there should be a higher standard for sort of people who, like, really cover games versus that's the average player. Okay, that went on longer than I meant to. I just wanted to post my monthly plea for a video about your favorite soundtracks. I'm too far behind. I have to catch up on too much, man. Look, I want this. Tell you what, if I was making no videos, if I wasn't doing Freeman's Mind, Game Dungeon, or the movie, that's probably the number one thing I'd be spending my time on, is just catching up on all this music stuff. So, look, I'm not forgetting about that by any means. I hope to eventually kind of share my wide knowledge of what I think the best stuff is and in what ways, and for what songs maybe, and to some extent. So that's one of my more like kind of ongoing quests here. Again, if you want to accelerate that, you can help me brainstorm on the best way to sort stuff by genre and soundtracks. Because it's not as simple as just saying action or sci-fi or so. There's way too much variance. Yeah, you can always email me about that. If you have ideas for soundtrack brainstorming, like the best way to organize, again, my end goal with soundtracks is to be able to just hit a button of a specific category that I've sorted ahead of time and just hit random play and it all sort of goes together. So the question is, what's that criteria? How do you figure that out? Because tempo is real important, and like how light or dark a song is, or maybe it's just kind of neutral, because you can have a song that's kind of real depressing and calm, but you have one that's like real optimistic and calm, kind of like some of the Rama music. And in some cases, the instrument use matters. Like if it's real sort of like medieval sounding, or if it's, futuristic electronic or square waves or stuff like that. But this has just been a question that's been gnawing at me. But man, I'm going to figure out something eventually. But yeah, if you have thoughts on that, anytime, just go ahead and send me an email. I love stuff like that, especially. And once I figure out a system, I'll be happy to share it with everyone. So there's just so much more variance than I'd say any other music genre. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah. I don't. Okay, it's asking if I'm gonna revisit Doom Guy's mind. I don't have plans. Oh, for the new Doom. I still haven't played the new Doom, so um, I don't have any plans to revisit it. But there's only a few things I say no. I'm never gonna do it again. I can keep an open mind on a lot of things. Okay, well, he's saying, what is Mike? He wants to know what somebody says at this point in the video. Okay, so I gotta listen.
That was close.
Oh, okay, I don't remember either. That's background. Okay, the part in the video he's talking about this episode from Aliens where the camera's focused on the Vortigaunt walking away. He, I don't remember what I was saying. I'd have to look it up from the files. That's meant to be background chatter when the real focus is on the alien. So it's. I'm never gonna put anything too good that you're never gonna know what it is, because what would be the point, you know? But at the same time, sometimes I'd like to take away the focus without having it be just completely void. I probably still have the files to that I could look it up, though. Ross, what's your academic background? Well, you know, I had a lot of like advanced placement stuff in high school. Like I have advanced placement in physics and English and history, I think. And college, I took, you know, I majored in criminal justice and minored in psychology. Yeah, I actually don't have much of a physics background outside of high school, so I just try to look up stuff every so often to kind of give Freeman, to refresh Freeman's physics cred. So, okay, somebody's asking you how's it going, how you're feeling. To me, this is just sort of a small. Okay, so unfortunately, you triggered that. That's a small talk question to me. So I'm gonna now I'm gonna skip which ones I want, and because we're getting down to the less votes here too, and answer the ones I think are pretty good. Not quite to the live chat yet. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I definitely don't want to answer that one. They're asking how long the movie's gonna take. This comment literally says, I'm a bot. If you want to send feedback, please comment or float. Ooh, that's a great question. If you, essentially Groundhog Day scenario, if you could live the next 24 hours and then erase it and start over, oh, just once, what would you do? Okay. If I could live the next 24 hours and erase and start over just once. So I guess I'd have to use it. Oh, okay, there's probably two things I would want to do. One, I'd probably use that to make money. I would probably go to a casino and then just memorize the outcomes of of something where the variance isn't so small it's going to change from second to second. So maybe something like blackjack, or like if I arrive at the right time, like if I look at them a little differently, maybe the dealer's not gonna shuffle things like roulette probably wouldn't be too good, because that could, it's just a little bit off. That's going to change the outcome. Maybe slot machines might be pretty good. Slot machines might be real good. Okay, so yeah, I would probably try to use that knowledge to basically make enough money so I never have to worry about it again. I guess you could do it with stocks, but I'd probably have to research stocks, and boy, that would be some time pressure to research within 24 hours. And and figure out what changed that day and where to put the money, where to bring it out, all within. So I essentially have a 48-hour range to learn about stocks, put all money I have into the ones how they're going to go, and then bring it out. And then hey, maybe my doing that might affect things too. So no, they wouldn't. It have to be big, small stocks. It could, big stocks. It probably wouldn't make a measurable difference. Oh yeah, horse races. Somebody's saying, yeah. I don't even know where to go to bet on horse races, but I could probably figure that out online. But yeah, I guess, so that'd be the first thing. The second thing is I'd probably try to brainstorm and think about things that there's no way to have truly objective data on with science, but you can only look at trends. Like honestly, I would probably try to eat a lot of different foods and see how that affected my mood and my feeling for the day, and then do the exact same thing the next day, and then because all the variables might be the same. Oh no, that might not work because I would have the knowledge from before, and then my body might. Well, okay, if it reset my body, then yeah, that might work. That might work. Because look, the kind of food you eat, it can make a big difference how you feel during the day. I'd like to test as much stuff as I could, but be limited. So yeah, I think those would be the two I'd have to go with. Because yeah, if you have knowledge of exactly how the next 24 hours is going to play out, barring your natural interference with it, you could be a millionaire overnight. Okay, let's see. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, so I'll try and rush through these next. There are a lot of questions this time. Okay, we're down to the 1.1, so I'm gonna be real selective here. Then I'll take a live chat in just a minute. Okay, he's asking about the nickel and quarter comment, and is saying they don't have the same weight as quarters, so it wouldn't work. That depends on the machine. It does work on some machines. Maybe not every one, but no, it totally will work on some machines in the past. Especially laundry machines, yeah. Good coin slot laundry machines. Okay. Okay. He's mentioning Dead Game News. I'm going to try real hard to have one this month for Dead Game News. And I'm working on other stuff very much related to Dead Game News that can maybe make more of a difference in the future, sort of behind the scenes with that. So, yeah, I know it's been ridiculously bad on updating Dead Game News. Okay, asking what I'm eating. Well, that's good. There's a humble bundle for a bunch of ebooks about Unity and Unreal. Yeah, I think I'm going with Unreal after all, because from what I've talked to different people now. They say there's a lot of pros and cons, but if animation is your number one priority, then Unreal is a little bit better. And my biggest concern about Unreal was that there might be stability problems or not patching enough bugs. And I have maybe a coder now who can assist me with that if that happens. So as long as I don't have to worry about the stability of it, then yeah, and animation is the main thing, then yeah, I think it's going to be on Unreal 4 for the movie. Okay. Okay, I gotta like this question. How do you feel about battle royale games such as PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds or H1Z1? Okay, this is weird, but this kind of goes back to the thing where maybe I empathize too much with this. I don't actually like those because those are too stressful for me in a way. Like when I watched the Hunger Games, like I was just like, my stomach was clenched. I mean, it was really good, but my stomach was just clenched. I was like, oh God. I don't do well with Doom, like real Doom, not the game, but like the concept, real utter Doom. And those you have to kill everyone or you're gonna die. And that concept just kind of like elevates my stress levels more than a game should. I mean, yes, I realize it's just a game, but I get into it too much. But honestly, I like being able to get into games. Whereas take something like DayZ or like or the I actually own the Just Survive version H1Z1. That one you might get killed, you might not. You know, it's a different dynamic. I don't like having that certainty that no, only one person's gonna live and it's probably not gonna be you. I don't like that. I mean, obviously a whole lot of people do like that, but I think I get too much into the game. So, I mean, they're great from a gameplay concept. I just, I identify with it too much. So, I always like having that chance of whether they're gonna live or not. And if it's, and with, I guess the thing, even if you're in a game with bad odds from a story perspective, you know, that's still bad odds. It's not guaranteed odds. Only one person's gonna live. That's like, oh man. It's the same thing in movies or stories. So, yeah, I mean, they can be really good stuff, but like, I don't like too much of that. It tenses me up more than it should. So. Okay. Okay, Origins of Freeman's Mind. I've answered that a bunch of times. So that would have to get upvoted more. Okay, yeah, let's see. This one I'm so tempted to do. Can we get one line or joke from the movie? But man, like if I do that, that's gonna like spoil. I want to be so careful about spoilers. I'm so tempted to give you guys one, and I know you'd like it. But if I think of one that won't spoil too much. Oh, okay. I'll give one. I'll give one because you need the reference to really get it. So maybe you'll be looking for it. Like, yep, small town. Okay, that's a line from the movie. That's the line, and that one will work. That one will work. So. You can use your imagination. What that's in reference. What triggers that. So. I have seen the original Planet of the Apes. That's an easy question to answer. I like it. It's classic. Okay, man. So many questions this time. Okay, let's go to the live chat questions. So yeah, put 3 equal marks in front of your question, and then equal sign, and then I'll answer as many as I can until I get too hungry. Oh boy, here they come. What were your favorite and least favorite teachers during any part of your education? Oh, that's a good question. Well, my least favorite would have easily been in the 5th grade. I had this. Honestly, I think she was a sadistic woman, Miss Rohr. She looked kind of like you know the bad lady in the Goonies. She looked kind of like that, the antagonist, and like she would do things like during recess. As a punishment, she would make people stand out there in the sun in the heat the entire time and watch everyone else play. Like, and if you move too much, then it wouldn't count. You'd have to start over and you have to do it the next day too. She had all sorts of like little mind games. I didn't like her at all. So that was 5th grade. Some of my favorites were in college actually. I had one art teacher who was a former Marine, and I think he served in Vietnam. So, it was kind of funny because he graded hard. But the thing is, he did it old school grades. Uh, Old school grading an A does not mean you did the assignment as intended. An A means exceptional performance. A C means you did average. So I remember I worked real hard on this one drawing I did. And like, I think I got a B or a B plus on it. Man, I felt like I earned it. And like, it's funny because a lot of the other students were just like in shock because of like how like hardcore he was on the grading. So again, it's not that he was mean. He's just old school. That's what grades used to mean, and I'm sure it still means that for some teachers out there. Where getting all A's, but I mean that'd be almost again. An A means just excellence, like complete excellence in the assignment. I also had one art teacher I really liked, where he looked sort of like Willem Dafoe a little bit. And he was always just like a little bit out there. But I remember one time, like outside middle school, I was just making a snowman because we were waiting for the school to open up. I got there early. And like, so the kids were just outside and there was snow on the ground. So I was making a snowman. And like, he was just sort of sitting back and just sort of watching me from a distance, just sort of chilling out, drinking his coffee. And these two kids came up and they're just like, hey man, want to see something cool? And they just go and destroy it in front of me. I was just like, all right, whatever. Like, I didn't really care. So I wasn't like devastated or anything. But the art teacher who had been watching just walked up. He's like, in the office now. Like, I was thinking, yeah, to an art teacher watching some kids walk up and destroy a snowman, that's probably like the worst offense he could witness. So I thought that was kind of hilarious because they did that in front of the wrong teacher. Okay, in college, I had one criminal justice teacher who was just absolutely hilarious. He was always telling jokes. I actually had two that were really funny. Talking about stand-up comedy, that may have been the course for it. Geez, I'm trying to remember some of his jokes. Well, yeah, he would tell us stories when he was on the police force where, he used to be real skinny and he was assigned partnered with this just enormous guy. He said, like, together we looked like the number 10. And he was talking about this, they brought in this suspect in who was just really just belligerent and attack everybody. And this was in the middle of while they were having like a costume party or something for Easter. So he brought they needed help restraining this guy. So they brought in this guy who was just sort of like in the next room. And he's wearing this giant Easter bunny costume. And basically he beat the hell out of him because the guy was just, it was attacking everybody. And then later, he was drunk off his ass too. And later they went before the judge and he's saying, what happened to you? Because he's suspecting some police brutality. And he's saying, the Easter bunny beat me up. And then, like, the officer kind of went like this towards the judge. It's like, okay, I wrote him up. But the thing is, he was telling the truth from his perspective. So he was loaded with stories like that. So, and then I had another one where, like, every single class in college, he would teach the lesson, but it's like he would intentionally take 5 or 10 minutes to just talk about whatever he wanted. And he would say how he would get drunk and start arguing about professional wrestling or things like that. It's like he made a point of it. Like he didn't have like a schedule or anything, but like every class without fail, he would do something like that. So those are some that jump to mind. Okay, yeah. So those are good questions. So that ate up a lot of the time for the others. I haven't played or seen the Hazardous Course Half-Life mod. Yeah, and again, I gotta warn the live chat people. If you're asking a question that's been asked a bunch of times, I'm gonna skip those because that's what the voting's for. I'll answer questions again and again, but people have to vote on it. Otherwise, you gotta look at the old chats maybe, unless it's because I don't want to bore everybody else. So. Oh, he's saying, why did I change the dialogue between Freeman and Across the Universe versus the actual ones? It's just it's like an alternate take on it. You know, what I figure a lot of the people watching Freeman's Mind or Freeman Across the Universe have already, because I did that there too, where I blew up the guy's food or I changed the dialogue for some of Half-Life. I figure, what's the point of having the exact same thing repeated if I can just do a different line? You know, just to get more variety. It's like, here, let me tell you what's almost going to be the worst episode of any TV series. It's the one where they run reruns of previous series to pad it out. Like, I know Star Trek Next Generation did that. They just have, it's nothing but a bunch of flashbacks to another one. Those are always like some of the worst episodes because you already know it. You know, you don't want that. So it wouldn't do anything to just have the exact same line. Do you ever worry that you'll wake up one day towards the end of the movie's production and find that you don't like a huge portion of it and be unsure about how to approach resolving that situation? No, as long as the script's good, the rest will follow. However, there could be some scenes I could realize, oh, wow, there's not enough time for this, or I need to edit part of this out. So it's not going to be a huge portion of it, but there's always some risk to that, but I'm going to try and think ahead as much as I can. But because the thing is, when I read a script, I try to imagine it in my head how it's going to play out. And if I'm sort of laughing at that, then you know that's good. It's in my head. However, I don't always get the timing just right, or I realize that, oh, this is lasting too long, or this didn't last long enough, and so that sort of thing can be more of a problem. But again, the farther I get into, I try to intercept that stuff whenever I see it. So hopefully there'll be a minimum of that sort of thing. How do you think Freeman as a character you created influenced the generation that grew up watching it and borrowing his character traits? Well, I've always tried to emphasize Freeman's mind is not a good role model. And do you feel responsibility for it? I mean, yeah, I guess, but not deep responsibility. Anytime you have entertainment, there's going to be that portion of people who don't understand this is entertainment. I mean, okay, occasionally I do try to slip in some like real world values, but again, I try to trust the intelligence of my audience to a degree so that they can distinguish between the two. You know, there's some things like, I'm trying to think if I've had samples of that of Freeman's mind. Well, okay, sometimes Freeman's mind, I'd say that Freeman, if you're going to look at him for influencing you, probably the most positive thing from Freeman's mind is his critical thinking skills. Because he thinks like, wait a minute, no, this is going to be a problem if you do it this way. Or no, that's a really bad idea. I'm not doing that. Like, so, well, hey, in the training video, I just couldn't reconcile him jumping off a platform that high and taking when there's blood stains on the ground. No, it's just not going to do it. Like, I just couldn't reconcile that. So that was too much like part of a game thing. So I'd say if you're going to take one trait from Freeman's mind, it's, you know, don't use your head. You know, that's a positive trait out of Freeman. So if I was making videos I intended for kids, I would try to be much more conscious of that sort of thing. But which I could, you know, I feel like I feel like I have a range. I could have pretty intense horror on one hand. I could have a kid's video on another one. So it just varies. I don't think I've made kids videos to date though. Would you play as Jesus in a live action movie? If I got paid enough. I mean, it's not really an aspiration of mine, but yeah, if the pay made it worth it, sure. Which is a very kind of non-Christian attitude about to take for somebody to play Jesus. So I think they could probably find somebody better. When is the next EA is Evil video? Once I've resolved... Okay, here's the thing. the thing about mailing to them isn't going to work. I feel bad. I feel dumb about that, but I have ideas for a different method that I think could actually get something done. But I gotta have a better plan of action, and I gotta have more organization with that, which I am working on. It's a long sort of process with the side project. So basically, I don't want to talk about EA again and killing games again until I have a definite plan of action of something you can do to help out with. Or I'm convinced that there's nothing to do, but I'm not anywhere near that. I'm not anywhere near being convinced of that. I'm making progress on that. Actually, getting the website up for my web homepage is actually a big part of that, because we hope to use that code base on the. It's like a chain reaction of things. I got to do this to do this. And then that'll lead to something maybe big happening. Think of it like an RPG quest line with like a big finish. So that's it can start off with these small steps, but you got to do those so they lead to something else. So that's where I am with that. That's also why Dead Game News hasn't had the same priority, because it's just driving me nuts. Like I want to. Talking about it and feeling helpless frustrates me too much. No, I got to do something. I got to make sure this counts for something. So, and that's making me kind of go more into like strategy mode rather than talking about it all the time. But I mean, talking about it's important and raising awareness is important, but it's all related to that. What is your opinion on Twin Peaks? I haven't seen the new one. I saw the original like years after the fact. I think like mid 2000s is when I saw it. I liked it a lot. It had a real nice atmosphere. Things are very mysterious. There's sort of this surreal, well, a lot of surreal aspects to it, surreal humor to it. I liked it. Like that's my ideal level of weird. Not Armed and Delirious, something more like Twin Peaks, because it's kind of weird, but you have some grounding too. You know, it's like the police are going over like how the crime might have been committed, and they just happen to have 50 donuts laid out there, just in case somebody wants a donut. Let's have 50 friggin' donuts lying out. Yeah, I like stuff like that. So. Have you ever played a game so consistently that has affected, influenced your dreams? Yes, Tetris was the first game that ever did that to me. Let's see, have there been any others? Where really got into my dreams. Quake 3, maybe. and some non-directly, maybe some zombie games, because I have had some like zombie dreams before, but but it's not. It's been nothing as specific as from like a certain game. Okay. What are your thoughts on this growing genre of very narrative-focused game experiences that are often derogatorily dubbed as walking simulators? I just finished Tacoma and I've enjoyed others such as Firewatch, Gone Home, and Life is Strange. Have you played any of these types of games? What are your thoughts on foregoing the traditional expectations of game mechanics to focus almost solely on delivering a story in a more passive manner, closer to a movie or book? I'm fine with either, because I like movies and I like games, and those tend to lean more towards the movies side. I have played Gone Home, and I played the demo of Life is Strange. It wasn't I gave up on Life is Strange, not because of the format, but because there was too much high school drama crap that I didn't like. I may actually do a video on that. I think it'd be. I don't want to get into too much detail on it, but I think people would be amused by my interpretation of Life is Strange. Of the demo, at least. But at the same time, like Dear Esther, man, that's it. There just wasn't enough there for me. It's, I'd say, put it like this: I completely understand gamers' criticism of those that these aren't real games. They're just they're barely interactive. I get that, and I don't think you're going to win an argument on that. Like in terms of raw gameplay, these are some of the worst games you're going to have. However, if the story and atmosphere is good enough, that works for me. You know, so however, that story better be good, or the atmosphere too. So like Gone Home was good in the sense that I went in blind. If you're gonna play that game, if that game's been spoiled for you, you may as well just not even play it. I mean, you could, but I went in blind, not knowing anything, and it kind of changed my. I'd be pissed if every game did this, but the expectations were thrown off enough that I enjoyed it enough. It sort of worked, but it's sort of a trick you can't do too many times, either. So yeah, I enjoy both, I guess. Did you figure out the modding problems you had on Freeman's Mind too? Maybe I need to. I may have. I need to check something somebody emailed on me. Maybe you're the person who emailed me. I'm just catching up here. When you play Mankind Divided, would you be open to live stream the game? Maybe. See, I don't know. Live streaming. Okay, I have two things. There's two things I feel about live streaming. One, sometimes I just want to play a game and not have to give like a performance for everybody. And top, I mean, it varies. Sometimes I'd love to discuss it with people as I go. So I can do that. But the other thing is when I'm kind of performing, like, see, I've been going on this almost 2 hours. I should maybe wind it down. I may just want to play the game for like 40 minutes. Okay, bye. And then just, okay, maybe I feel like playing this for 20 minutes. Okay, bye. And then it's more setup to do. And then it might be frustrating for the people watching. And like, I could devote more time to it, but then that's more time I'm taking away from actual, like, what I would call like more quality videos. So it's sort of balance. I do definitely want to do this with some sort of point and click adventure game so you guys can be my real time walkthrough. So I don't have to hunt through it. But the other thing is, the more I'm doing that sort of thing, the more it kind of creates the impression that, oh, Rod's just playing games and not working on anything. Well, yeah, you know, and that might be the truth if I'm doing that a whole bunch for live streaming, and it might sort of trick my brain into thinking I'm actually doing something productive, which I don't think I am if I'm live streaming that much. This one's a little different because, you know, this is in touch with the audience, but I got to keep a balance, you know. Put it like this, given the choice, I would rather have my audience completely in the dark as to what I'm doing, but then produce a great video versus be in touch with them like all the time, be aware of who they're talking to, but then just get nothing put out besides the live stream. Given the choice, I'd always rather go for the quality video. So it's just a matter of priorities. Oh, geez, I clicked on a button. I lost track of this. Okay, fine, live stream. I lost my place in the questions. That's not good. Okay, here we go. And I'm way behind on. Okay, so this is going on kind of long. I'm going to try to be more picky about them now. Again, you got to get on. You got to look for the threads about a week ahead of time so you can vote on which questions you want going up. But so he's asking what will happen after the movie's done. I'll keep making videos, but I'm not even gonna worry about that because I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be in such a great place mentally once the movie's done that, you know, we'll see what happens. I'll keep making videos though. I don't really watch. I was asking about speed runs. I don't really watch that many. I sometimes skim through to see what sort of tricks they do, but I don't really watch them straight through. Somebody's asking for a sexy Ross pose. Look up my pirate video. Look up my post on the Freeman's Mind episode 27 that I did. I had a good pirate pose there with a flintlock. I don't see how you can do better than that. Yeah, have a bandana on too. So. Have you ever played one for Game Dungeon that infuriated you so much that you couldn't finish it? I almost thought I wasn't going to be able to finish Armed and Delirious. Like, just not going to be able to finish it. Like because of the bug. And I misread part of the walkthrough too. So that would have pissed me off a big amount because like I had come so far on this and I had given up on the game in the past actually. Like I was thinking, no, this time I'm gonna push through it and finish this for game dungeon. So the thought of not being able to do that, oh man, that got me so upset. But I did figure out how to get it. It was more me misreading the walkthrough. That would have got me so upset. Yeah, I can't remember if I read the question back to everybody. So, but yeah, they're asking if I ever got so infuriated I couldn't finish it. So yeah, Armed and Delirious almost did it. But that wasn't so much the game as sort of extenuating circumstances. Okay, I'm gonna, let's see. Yeah, sorry, I gotta get more discriminatory on the questions here. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, this is a good question. Since complex animations themselves typically can't be constructed in Unity or Unreal Engine 4, what aspects of the engines were you looking at? Things like ease of use, importing, state machines, and blend spaces? Yeah, all that stuff. Because there's going to be because like say somebody's walking towards a chair and I need to have them turn around and just sit down in the chair, but I only have animations for the walking and the sitting down part. Well, I got to make that blend smoothly. Also, things like see with Source SDK, I could tell them like see that okay. That's a perfect example. Okay, maybe it's changed. Maybe there's plugins now for Source Filmmaker, but back when I was making Stranger in Need, it sure wasn't the case. Say I want a whole bunch of people walking. Like let's say there's a scene, I want like 10 people walking around, going different directions, and the main character's walking. Well, in Source SDK and Hammer, I can just okay, they have their walk routines. I just lay out their little path. They follow it, you know, and there's been some shortcuts with the AI and everything sort of baked into the game. Well, in Source Filmmaker, I kind of have to manually set up the walk animation, move them at the right amount of time, maybe even do some devilry with their feet so it doesn't look like they're sliding on ice or moonwalking or something. It was 10 times the amount of work, maybe more. Whereas that was just a simple thing for the level of detail that I needed in Source SDK. And to me, that is the entire point of machinima, taking those shortcuts for things where things are good enough. Yeah, they're not going to be Pixar quality at all, but you know, I just saved 10 times or maybe 100 times the amount of work I would have having to animate this all by hand. So whatever gives me the most flexibility about having those little shortcuts, like with the blending or like, you know, okay, say I have a scene with some physics where I need them getting blown back in the ragdoll physics. Yeah, at the time, Source Filmmaker didn't have physics. So if I wanted that scene with the ragdoll stuff with Mike, you know, slamming against the lamppost or something, that wouldn't have been there. I would have had to do that manually, and that's ridiculous. I shouldn't have to do stuff like that. I should let the computer figure it out. So that's the number one. That's like the most important aspect because that's where the most amount of time goes into. Everything else is just like secondary compared to the amount of time stuff like that takes. So just yeah, and any shortcut I can have without having it look like garbage is I want to take it. Okay, I'm skipping some more. Sorry. Let's see. Okay, see, this is where I talk about the, okay, no, okay, I should skip this. This is going to take too long to answer. You can email me about the virtual machine stuff. Would you consider activating the added translation system on YouTube? Sure, I don't know how to set it up. I think I looked into it and it wasn't doing it. I don't know. Yeah, sure. I'm open with that. I answered this question last chat about Freeman's mind for Half-Life 3 if it comes out. I'm pretty certain I answered that last chat. Would you go whitewater river rafting? I have been once, and I've been canoeing a lot more than that. Like, I think I might want to avoid ones that are so intense where there's like, if you're not an expert, there's a very high probability you're going to have your head smashed on rocks on the rapids. But yeah, going down a river is great. So. Someone's asking about a reference to the centipedes in my house and saying at one point Freeman states that he hasn't bought a house. Well, okay, I don't remember the exact thing I was saying, but just from what you said and how I think it's like the crowbar from Black Mesa. He's probably just speaking figuratively. So if you have an apartment, you say, "Oh yeah, back at my house or my place, my home." You know, he could, even though that's technically not the right term, he could just be interchanging it. So. I have not played Velcro Mind. I don't know what that is. Was you yelling in while recording Dre? I don't know. I don't think I recorded Dre. I have no affiliation with any Dr. Dre album. Sorry. I haven't seen the Villainous on Cartoon Network. Okay, yeah, I skipped a lot of questions. Again, when there's less time, I just sort of pick the ones I want. Yeah, I think I'm about done here looking at the rest of the questions. So. Okay, I'm going to go. Thanks for showing up. I have to stop promising times, but it's my estimate that, it'll be a Freeman's mind. Hey, if that bug gets fixed, I'd say in about a week. But if it doesn't get fixed, roll for an initiative here. Try and figure out for yourself what's going to happen. So, yeah, and going to be spending time on the movie. And probably tonight and some of tomorrow, I'm going to be playing some Path of Exile. I'm looking forward to that. It's big expansion. Okay, see everybody later.